songs, let me tell you about a friend. It's Craig LeBlanc, where the good times never end. Talking Parks and Rec, it's a show you gotta know. Welcome one and all to the Daily Parks and Rec Show. It's the Daily Parks and Rec Show.
You know, a lot of people look at recreation, they're like, oh, all you do all day is, set up soccer nets and, fun departments, which is all well and true, but there is so much more to it. And even just the fact of giving back to your community and being that outlook for many, many people, within the community is huge.
All right, we are live again. This is Craig LeBlanc with the Daily Parks and Rec Show, Leadership Series Edition. Just recently came back from California, had a great time at CRPS 2026. Thank everybody in California for opening us with welcome arms. Got to speak at their director's lunch. Big shout out to Stephanie Stevens. She's the executive director there. And also big congratulations to Jonathan O. Skinner for winning the Lifetime Achievement Award, got inducted into the Hall of Fame. Thank you to Liddy Gutfeld, who kind of orchestrated getting us out there. And then thank you to everybody on the Push to Play podcast. If you haven't seen Push to Play podcast, this is California's podcast all about Parks and Rec. We collaborated at the convention and was able to create some cool content together. But they're doing a really good job. And one of the few states in all of America, I think to my knowledge, there's only 3 states that have a podcast that's official. If you do have one out there, please let me know so I can talk about it more. But as far as I know, Illinois, California, and I think Missouri are the only 3 states, Parks and Rec associations, that are producing some type of content around Parks and Rec and what they're doing at the association level. So I think a lot more states are eventually going to turn that on. Hopefully we can help them with that. But we have a special guest with us today, Sam White from Massachusetts, Norwood, Massachusetts. How are you doing today, Sam?
I'm good. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Fantastic. I'm complaining right now here in New Orleans that it's 50 degrees, and I'm like, this is crazy. It's never supposed to get this cold down here, but I'm curious what you're facing up there in Massachusetts.
A lot better than us. We're in about the mid 30s today. We did have a little bit of a heat wave a couple days ago. We reached up to the 70s. And just, about 2.5 weeks ago, we had a huge snowstorm, actually beat the blizzard of 79. So we're actually all the snow's gone now, but it's a rainy, gloomy day here. But we'll take it. It's not snow.
Man, it's bad when you have to refer to a blizzard that has a year attached to it, like the blizzard of 79.
That's right. And we actually beat it in some spots. I know Providence, Rhode Island, they actually beat the record. They I think got like 38 inches or something like that, something crazy in 2 days. Madness.
Well, okay, so before we get started with talking about Sam and all his life and his craziness getting into Parks and Rec and what's going up there in Massachusetts, we've got 2 fresh new promos hot off the press. And our very talented stage manager, Jovi, who was a lifesaver during the California Parks, could not have done it without you, Jovi. So thank you. She created this for our Tuesday weekly show. It's called On the Front Line with Jonathan Prue. We've been doing that every week, every Tuesday since January 1. So this is one of our newest shows. If you're a military veteran or just active military duty, all your Parks and Rec department on site on every base, y'all all know it's called MWR, but for the rest of the world, that's basically Parks and Rec for the military. And so we do a weekly show every Tuesday, 1:30 p.m. Eastern with Jonathan Prue, who's been working with MWR for, I think, 4 decades. And Jovi finally stitched together a promo for that weekly show. And then immediately following that, we also made a promo for kind of all the shows that we're doing. We ran it all through DPR, through the California Parks and Rec Association event, society. I know some of y'all are societies and some are associations because some states stole the last letter, so you had to change it up a little. But Jovi, why don't you go ahead and run those 2, and then when we get back, we'll start our conversation with Sam.
Not every job happens behind a desk. Some happen where decisions are made in seconds, where pressure is real, and where people show up no matter what. This is the front line. It's where service meets reality, where responsibility isn't optional, and where impact is measured in people, not headlines. We follow the men and women who stand first. First to respond, first to protect, first to act when it matters most. They don't do it for recognition. They do it because someone has to. On this show, we go where the work happens, beyond the uniforms, beyond the titles, beyond the noise. We hear the stories, the challenges, the moments that test them, and the purpose that keeps them going. Welcome to On the Front Line, the Military Rec Show. Real people, real pressure, real service. This is where it begins. Stories from the front. Welcome to DPRS Media Network, the voice of Parks and Recreation professionals, where leadership grows, facilities thrive, and communities connect. Leadership Series, insights from the leaders shaping our industry. Facility maintenance, the backbone of safe and sustainable spaces. Young Professionals Network, empowering the next generation of parks and rec leaders. The Rec Room, real conversations, real stories, real impact. Youth Sports Mastery, elevating the game for athletes and communities. Smart Parks Forward, innovation driving the future of recreation. On the Front Line, honoring those who serve our communities every day. Athletes Commute, the journey behind the performance. The Aquatics Life, everything aquatics, safety, staffing, sustainability. Safe Spaces and Green Spaces, a show exploring the connection between nature and mental well-being. And we don't just tell the stories, we show up where it happens. From local gatherings to national parks and recreation conferences, DPRS Media Network is on the ground, capturing conversations, highlighting innovation, and amplifying the voices shaping our industry's future. DPRS Media Network, connecting parks, empowering people, inspiring communities.
Man, great job, design team, on building those. It's hard to think about that we just started this 13 months ago, and we've already built so much on the different shows. And I see all the logos and all the show hosts and stuff, and it just really sets me back on how much we're getting the word out about what Parks and Rec is. So good job, guys. All right, so Sam, how did you get involved in this crazy industry of parks and recreation?
Oh man, yeah.
Were you one of those park rats that was just, grew up as an after school care kid and just had a lot of exposure to it early on, or did you kind of discover this later in life?
I really honestly discovered it later in life. So just growing up in a small town of Pulteney, Vermont, right on the New York border. So, I mean, to put it in perspective, I only graduated high school with 35 kids.
Wow.
Very small community. So we actually didn't even have our own Parks and Recreation department. It was pretty much just go outside, find the nearest basketball court, find the nearest field, have some fun. We did have I will say we did have like a rec director, but it was very limited to just summer programming only. So it was your typical like floor hockey, soccer, basketball, karate. The basics, nothing too extensive. But that was really my first, I guess you could say, introduction into recreation. Where I was very active, just growing up, I, went through all the programs. And then once I got to the appropriate age, I became a counselor for those programs, and then continued. But it never really opened my eyes that, this was a career path or something that you could make a lifetime out of.
Yeah.
So that was the beginning. That was the early stages.
Yeah. And, that's one thing we're hoping to change, because we are we're the only, I wish there were more, but, we'll take it. We're the only media company dedicated to parks and recreation. And one of the messages we really want to turn around is, I can't tell you how many parks and rec people, professionals, probably a full third, maybe even half of the population, never even realized this was a career path. And
Yeah.
so that's definitely a message we want to turn around, so that college kids maybe are trying to beat the door down to get into Parks and Rec as a great career path.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Yeah.
It is a great career path, and I'm fortunate enough to realize that, and here I am
Yeah.
now. Here I am now.
I wonder what was let's think about a second. What was the disconnect of why you never considered this as a career path? And now that you are in this career, what do you think would be a good way to kind of turn that around so that lifeguards, summer camp counselors, high school kids, even part-time workers that are cutting grass as a summer job, what kind of message you think we could, or what do you think would be the best way to turn that around?
Yeah, for sure. And I think honestly, what you're doing on this platform is fantastic. I think just more exposure to the profession in general is huge. And I think, kind of opening that door to, it is more than, your camp counselor or lifeguard or anything along those lines, where a lot of people, and even we were just talking about this earlier. Actually, it's funny where, a lot of people look at recreation, they're like, oh, all you do all day is, set up soccer nets and, put on programs that, we're the fun departments, which is all well and true, but there is so much more to it. And even just the fact of giving back to your community and being that outlook for many people, within the community is huge,
Yeah.
and I think just really supporting that message and driving that, and especially in a lot of these bigger towns or cities that do have a rec department, like what would happen if the rec department
Yeah.
wasn't there? Like what would be that filler, So we play an active role in everyday life for all
Yeah.
sorts of people all over the world. So,
I think it does some good to take a step back and say, what is Parks and Rec on a national footprint? They are managing probably the largest, I would say definitely the largest real estate portfolio in the world. I tried to calculate it just very rough back of the napkin, and around $10 trillion was, if you could even put a value on some of these legacy parks. I mean, think about like Central Park in New York. What would that be if you could put a price tag on it? I mean, it's pretty much priceless. But you've got 350,000 professionals with college degrees and PhDs and masters managing all this real estate, keeping it up and running. And then think of how many, I wonder how many festivals and special events are run annually by all 12,000 Parks and Rec departments.
that's a great
Crazy.
question. I would love to know that number. I would.
I need to kind of just, and we don't have to get it perfect, but man, that would just be a great number to think, because every community runs at least 4 to sometimes 10 special events. If you think like the Halloween, the Easter egg hunts, the 4th of July celebrations. I mean, it's
Absolutely
a lot.
the list goes on. That's for sure. That's for sure.
Okay, so now you're kind of in college. Did you actually pursue this from college on, or were you pursuing a different degree as a freshman?
So as a freshman, I went in as a sport management major, which I did end up graduating with. Originally, going into college, definitely kept my mind open for different careers. Again, didn't really have my sights on recreation. Didn't know much about the career in general. Kind of, knew about it, but not completely. I really had my sights set more as like an athletic director down the line, or even a coach at some point. I knew I didn't really want to get into any big organizations such as like the Red Sox or Celtics here right off the bat. That didn't really interest me at the time. So I really wanted to be more, I think, sport oriented and just staying in like at least collegiate athletics. That was more of my frame of mind going in. Once I hit my sophomore year, I actually took a recreation and leisure class, who was instructed by Professor Erica Abruzzi, who was at the time the director of the Waltham Recreation Department, which was just a town over. And that course alone really opened my eyes to exactly like what recreation is, how it does affect the community, all the things that go into it, especially like what we were talking about earlier. You got the aquatics, fields, playgrounds, programs, activities, special events, and that really drew me in more. And
What
then
was the
off
name of
of
that
that,
class?
what's that? It was
What was,
recreation and leisure.
and who taught it?
Erica Abruzzi.
Are they still teaching?
I believe he is still teaching. Yes. Yeah.
Can you contact him, or do you think you could find him?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was actually just talking to him on LinkedIn. He is still teaching. I shouldn't
Okay.
say I think he is. He is still
Yeah,
teaching.
maybe we can get him on the show because I mean, if it was a class that really kind of, that light bulb moment for you, was there a specific part in the class where it just kind of like you said it opened your eyes? What was that eye-opening moment?
Yeah, honestly, the curriculum was certainly eye-opening, inspiring, but I think just with him being in a director role at the time
Mm,
and being so passionate about the profession and just the knowledge that he brought, it was real world stuff. It was all real, we were talking about his operational budget and his revolving budget, and again, just what the recreation department as a whole was doing for the whole community. It was really eye opening. So I think it was really more of that passion and drive that he had,
mm,
that he was then presenting through, his his course, and
yeah.
it really hit home. It really hit home, and I ended up interning with him shortly after that course as well.
Now, how was that? Well, before Jovi, if you could write down, what was that name one more time?
Erica
Uh,
Bruzi,
Erica
or I'm
Bruzi.
sorry, no, I'm sorry, that's his son, Nick Abruzzi.
Nick
I'm
or
sorry,
Nika? Nick,
Nick.
Nick Bruzi.
Yeah,
Yeah, Jovi, put that in our group chat that that you just put the show link on, just to kind of, because we don't want to drop the ball on this, and then we kind of remind Sam to get us in touch with him, and maybe we can get him as a guest on the show.
yeah,
Um,
absolutely. His son's
all right.
actually in recreation right now too. That's why I was saying Eric. I was mixing him up. Eric is his son, who's actually a program coordinator a few towns away from here. So
No way.
that's full circle. Yes, yes. So that would
So
be a good story.
let's talk about that internship program. Was that just one semester, or what was that like?
Oh yeah, so I did that for 2 years actually afterwards. So I worked in they called it the chill zone. So they had their own building. They had a gymnasium down in the basement, actually, and that's where a lot of the kids from after school would come, hang out, play basketball. We would set up different programs for them. I would also actually go out with the program coordinator to run some of his programs and just see how he would set it up from start to finish. And he was also a LaSalle alumni, and that's where I went to school, LaSalle
Mm,
University now. And It was funny because I met him my freshman year of college, and we're still in contact to this day. And he was a senior when I was a freshman. So when I was a sophomore, he was actually hired by the Waltham Recreation Department, which obviously that's where I
yeah.
was interning with my professor, and he was there, so I was able to kind of learn step by step from him as well.
Yeah, yeah. And really, internships are, I mean, to me, that's where real education happens, is when you can, start really using everything you're learning in college. And then, what year were you in college when you went to your internship program?
I was it was the second semester of my sophomore year.
Okay. And then
Yeah,
you continued that all the way through. Well, heck, that almost pushed you all the way through your senior year, I would imagine, after if you
pretty
said
much. Yep,
2 years.
it did. Yeah, right to the end. Right to the end. I finished up my first semester of my senior year.
Now, why did they hang on to you for so long? Was that an exception just because they saw an exception in you, or do they typically have internship programs that last that long? Because typically it's like one semester in and out.
Yeah, no, I think so I remember at LaSalle the curriculum. I know we needed at least 2 semesters of internship hours. I
Hmm.
did start a little bit earlier and just work my way. I did. I mean, I loved it as well. I mean,
Hmm.
it was a paid internship too, so that helped. But
Yeah,
it was
that
also
helps.
something that I was passionate about. And I've done a few other internships where I wasn't really getting too much out of it. I was taking inventory of something, or just kind of doing the dirty work, I guess one
Yeah,
would say. But this internship, was more hands on. I was working with the kids directly. I was seeing how the rec department really operated, and the ins and out of the functionality. And I took a lot away from
yeah,
it. And honestly, that was my driving factor of like, this is what I want to do,
yeah,
going forward. And I felt passionate about it, very passionate, and
yeah.
still am.
And when was that? Like, what year, calendar years did you
So
have
that
that?
was, yeah, gee, I graduated LaSalle in 2019. So that was, yeah, would have been
17 and 18, something
2017
like
to
that?
2019. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. Now, obviously where you drove there, how many hours a week were you there for
Yeah.
the
So it,
internship?
it, it kind of differs. So I also played on the men's basketball team, LSL.
Mhm.
So throughout the winter months, of course, my hours were limited. I would typically do weekend hours whenever I could pick them up. Obviously in the springtime and after the season, it opened it up more for weekdays, and I was typically getting there, in the spring at least 3 days a week.
Okay.
And that's more when I was also, outside and getting involved with the soccer programs and following around the program coordinator. So
Yeah. And so what parts of the Park and Rec department did you touch? Did you ever touch special events or facilities maintenance or master planning, or where did they kind of involve you?
so I was really honest, I was actually only on the programming side. Which
Okay.
was fine with me. Which was fine with me. I mean, at that point in time, again, the wheels were turning. They weren't like fully there, especially in the beginning, where I was like, okay, like I could see myself doing this. Like I want to do this, and it was more of, I guess, the quote unquote fun stuff.
Yeah.
There was no paperwork or master planning or anything or budgets, anything along those lines. But it was just more of the connection and the programming.
Yeah. Now, did you find your education with your 4-year degree? What other classes kind of really helped you in what you're doing today, or did you see being used in your internship program?
Yeah, sure. I think I did have one course actually on the Paralympics, which that really opened my eyes too, because again, like when you're talking recreation, you're talking about everybody,
Mhm.
inclusivity, you know, and that kind of warped me into thinking outside the box, thinking, okay, there are people out there that have disabilities. There are people out there that, there's different programs that need to be run. A lot of departments have therapeutic specialists in their rec departments, which I think is a
Mhm.
great thing. And I really think I got a lot out of that, because again, it opened my eyes. Where I grew up, we didn't have that many people with disability. So it's just something that didn't really dawn on me when, going into recreation. It's not a straightforward thinking, especially when you're coming out of an environment when you're not used to anything.
Yeah.
It's not a big population. There
Yeah.
wasn't that much diversity. So, just I think diving into that course a little bit too just was more eye opening for me.
Yeah. And when we talk about inclusivity, unfortunately, this term is getting politicized and hijacked
Yeah.
by seems like everybody. But as far as the Parks and Rec framework, we're trying not to make sure we leave a part of our community's population behind, and that we're not building programs that are only for really athletic kids, and maybe the
Correct.
little nerdy engineer when he's like 10, he gets left out of these sports. Or maybe you have like a handicapped child that the playground is just not built for him. And so that's what we mean when we talk about including everyone in your community, whether it's the seniors or the single moms that really need and depend on after school care, or maybe, children that have disabilities. We want to make sure that as a city, we don't have these kind of marginalized populations that can't really use our facilities. That's kind of how I see Parks and Rec. Did I kind of sum that up right, or what can you do to kind of add to that?
You did. No, I think you hit the nail on the head. I also would say, and I even said it earlier, where like some people look out from the outside looking in to Parks and Rec professionals, or just Parks and Rec in general. They're thinking sports.
Yeah.
They're not thinking arts. They're not thinking music. They're not thinking engineering. They're not thinking of
Hmm.
all these other things. Where us as Park and Rec professionals, we need to open that door. We
Yeah.
need to be unique. We need to try new things, add new things. I mean, because recreation as a whole, it's not just sports.
Yeah.
And I get like that's why people think they're like, oh, okay, you're doing this, you're doing that. You have these camps, you have these programs, but it's really, like I said, arts, music, engineering,
Mhm.
cooking. It's really, really hitting all those key targets, trying to get that niche in your own community, and expanding what you have to offer, because
Yeah.
not every kid is playing sports. Not every kid is picking up an instrument. Not every kid is picking up a paintbrush. So it's really spreading out the overall portfolio of what you can offer in your community.
Yeah. Yeah. And we can even expand on that conversation a little bit. So I think what Sam is talking about is traditionally we just think that we have baseball fields, so we do baseball. We have soccer fields, we do soccer, and football fields, we do football. And then that's the end of the programming. But there's actually so much more. There's not only other sports like pickleball or flag football or volleyball. Certainly we have all these different sports that we can do. especially if you have an aquatic center. You can do diving, you can do swimming, you can do water polo. There's all kind of cool stuff, or aerobics. But even like the performing arts, I've interviewed people that have, the musicians, the artists come in where they'll paint. And I've even had one city that has a pottery, I guess, section of their community center where they have all the big stuff and they're making pottery. And so there's so many things you can offer your community in programming. Maybe speak on that a little bit more. What else have you seen out in your career, not just in your community, but in other communities?
Yeah. Again, I think it's just that outlook of trying new things.
Mhm.
Like we do have a couple of towns do. I mean, more. I would say art courses. The arts are definitely very popular. I
Uh-huh.
haven't seen full on music programs. Like for us, for an example, we actually partner with a music group right down the street. It's called Band Gig School of Music. So
Yeah.
we partner with them, and we have people register through us that then go to them and actually participate in a band, and then they end up playing like at our special events and like a concert and whatnot, and they really bring that to life and that movement to life. So it's not just okay, maybe they're learning an instrument or they're trying to work on their craft through that instrument, and then they can show it off to the community and the public.
Oh yeah, there's really so much more. And then maybe we can talk about how the facilities really facilitate that action. So if I'm thinking
Yeah.
kind of like how Parks and Rec departments will build like a skate park for those that
Mhm.
have the little two-wheeled or skateboards or roller skates or something. Thinking like the pickleball courts that are really kind of specific for pickleball. Because
Mhm.
a lot of times we just think of the athletic facilities. We've got like, again, tennis is a big one, baseball is a big one. But how does Parks and Rec open up its mind around the different facilities they can build?
Mhm.
Are there any other that you've seen where Parks and Rec will actually spend quite a bit of money to cater to some of these programs?
Yeah, most definitely. And I think to your point too before, just about looking at the facilities and what you can hold. I think, and now it's starting to become more of a trend, as what I'm seeing, but having
Mhm.
multi-use facilities.
Yeah.
So kind of like you said, where it's not just specifically a football field or specifically a baseball field. You can have. I know there's different facilities where they're putting turf in certain places, where you
Mhm.
can make it a multi-use field. One example I will use too is here in Massachusetts we have snow. We have in my community alone we have two outdoor pools that we only operate 3 months out of the year.
Yeah.
That being said, one of the pools, it's lived a good life. It was built in 1960, so it's been around quite a bit. It's
Wow.
definitely coming to the end.
Yeah.
But one of the options that we're looking at is okay, how can we capitalize this? What's the next thing forward? And one of the options is actually turning it into a splash pad in the
Mhm.
summertime, and then you can take everything out and you can freeze it over and make it an ice rink in the wintertime. So you're using you're reusing your resources, you're utilizing the space that you have, and you're giving more back to the community in one space.
Yeah. Fantastic. Yeah, that's a great. I can't remember which one it was, but there are several Parks and Rec departments that have an ice rink, and
Hmm.
and
Yep.
and if it weren't for Parks and Rec departments, because ice rinks aren't cheap, splash pads
Right.
aren't cheap, aquatic centers are definitely not cheap. If it were not for the city footing the bill for the community, kids would never have access to this stuff.
Correct. Correct.
Yeah.
That's it, and that's why again it's so important to have these facilities and to always advocate for parks and recreation where
Yeah.
we'll oversee it, but that next kid that's hopping in the pool could be the next Michael Phelps, or just giving that opportunity for anybody just to enjoy themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so I want to we'll go ahead and take our little halftime break, and when we get back, we're going to go into how Sam kind of got his first gig in Parks and Rec and what that looked like in the first few years, and how he moved all the way up to director, seemingly pretty quick. A lot of people take 20 years to get to a director seat,
Yeah.
but you kind of got there fast. Um, let's go ahead and play. We want to give a big shout out to Outdoor Link, which I saw Tasha and Dave in California. They're the ones that are our earliest sponsor. that said, hey, we want to help build a media company for Parks and Recreation. So what does our Outdoor Link do? Just as you have your smart homes, and so now the homes are getting so smart, they can detect when your cell phone's getting close and turn on the lights and the AC and stuff. So imagine if your city was just as connected. All your lights, your splash pads, your bathroom door locks could all be controlled from a cell phone, from an iPad, from a centralized locations, and you're not having to send your maintenance crews out there to turn lights off after a coach left them on over the weekend or something. All this can be dialed in, and this is what they specialize in. And so they were one of our earliest sponsors, and glad to have them on board. They also are helping us create our Smart Parks Forward, which talks mostly about this new technology and the hardware coming into park systems. So if you have any needs around that, please give Outdoor Link a shout out. I mean, give them a call, and you can also hit me up on LinkedIn. I can help connect you with the right people. And then we also made a little promo for the Illinois Parks and Rec Association when we attended in January. So we're going to run those two promos, and then when we come back, we'll finish up with Sam.
In today's parks and recreation industry, communication, safety, and efficiency go hand in hand. That's where Outdoor Link comes in, delivering smart technology that empowers city departments and community planners to do more, smarter. Outdoor Link's platform connects and automates everything that keeps your parks running smoothly, from lighting and locks to signage, water features, Wi-Fi, and digital advertising. Control and schedule park lights for safety and energy savings. Remotely manage facility access, update digital displays in real time, coordinate fountains and splash pads, provide public connectivity, and even run community or sponsorship campaigns on digital screens, all from one simple, unified platform, giving you real-time control, data, and cost efficiency. For parks and recreation agencies, that means safer spaces, smarter resource use, faster responses, and stronger community engagement. And behind every great park story is great infrastructure. That's why Outdoor Link proudly supports DPRS Media Company, helping the daily Parks and Rec Show amplify the voices of professionals shaping our communities every day. Outdoor Link, smart, connected solutions for parks, recreation, and beyond.
This year, we didn't just attend an event. We became part of something bigger. IPRA 2026 brought together leaders, innovators, and community builders, all united by one mission: to strengthen parks, recreation, and the people they serve. For DPRS Media Network, it was an honor to join IPRA 2026 and take part in meaningful, real-time conversations, capturing stories and amplifying voices that matter. To IPRA, thank you for creating a space where collaboration thrives and the future of parks and recreation is shaped together. We extend our deepest gratitude to Amelia and all our partners who made these live interviews possible. IPRA 2026 wasn't just an event, it was a reminder that when communities connect and stories are shared, impact follows. From all of us at DPRS Media Network, thank you, IPRA. Thank you, partners and sponsors. We're honored to stand with you and excited for what's next.
Yeah, that was such a great event. Illinois does a great job running their state association. It's like a mini NRPA. I think they had like 400 to 500 vendors just over there. It might have been bigger than what they had in Orlando. So if you ever get a chance to attend that, man, that's crazy. All right, Sam. So
I think you're muted.
Oh, let's see. Can you hear me now? Let's see.
Oh,
how about now? Let me check something real quick.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Let me check and make sure my mic is set up correctly. Did that fix it?
Oh.
No. Hold on. Let me know if you can hear. Accessibility.
Not able to hear you right now.
Sound settings.
Oh, sure.
How about now? Did that do anything? Well, how about that? Did that work?
Oh.
Jovi, why don't you go ahead and play another promo while I figure it out?
Oh, no, I still can't hear.
It didn't start with a studio.
Before
Oh.
the game, before the lights, before the pressure, there's a moment most people never see. Welcome to The Athlete's Commute, a podcast distributed by DPRS Media Network, co-produced by Her Sports, and hosted by Jordan Ziff. Each episode, Jordan gets behind the wheel, driving athletes to practice, to training, to game day, while getting to know who they really are beyond the jersey. The mindset, the grind, the sacrifices, the moments no one talks about. No scripts, no filters, just real conversations in real motion. Because every athlete has a journey, and every journey deserves to be heard. This is The Athlete's Commute. Buckle up.
Did that fix it?
Gotcha.
Okay. Thank you, Jovi, who wrote in
Right.
interference while we fix our technical issues. Okay, so let's talk about what was your first job in the Parks and Rec? So this was what, 2019, 2020, when you got like an official Parks and Rec job?
Yeah, so my official Parks and Rec job was December of 2021. And is when I moved to Norwood. Actually, I moved to Norwood earlier in 2021. Worked in a private sports complex called Dedham Health and Athletic, as a front desk manager, just for a few months, and then I had the program coordinator job popped up on my Indeed for Norwood Recreation. So, that was very intriguing. Again, this is the field that I wanted to be in, and I knew it at that point. And, I applied, and I was fortunate enough to get it. And I began in December of 2021, right before the new year.
Fantastic. And so you came in on programming. And so what was that like when you were, and so now were you working what, 40-hour work weeks, or is that an even thing in Parks and Rec?
Yeah, well, yeah. Depends on the week, right? I don't know. Yes, yeah. I mean, standard 40 hours, but obviously all over the place. I was really in charge of, obviously, setting up the programs, making sure I would prepare the program guide that we still do to this day. We do two program guides annually. We do one for spring and summer and one for fall and winter. So I was in charge of, scheduling, booking everything, making sure that everything was all set up. And, we're talking over, easily 150 programs each season, if not more. And that's with special events on top of that. And we do have a couple of our own special events that are tied into, just your, I guess your average, Easter egg hunt or tree lighting, or Halloween activities. So yeah, so that was the base of it. And I was also in charge. I was also the summer camp director on top of that. So I was, in charge of hiring all the counselors, making sure to oversee our main summer camps, and making sure everyone was good to go.
And so how old were you then? What, like 21, 22, something
Yeah,
like that?
I was 23.
23.
Yep.
And so after the first few weeks of working, what I know it's kind of like drinking from a fire hose when you start with Parks and Rec. You're just kind of like thrown in the chaos and told to figure it out.
That's right.
What were some of the personal skills that you saw were lacking that you really had to develop?
That's a good question. I think honestly, it's crazy I'm saying this out loud, but I think my organization skills needed some tweaking. As I'm sending out multiple emails per day, reaching out to different instructors or different, facilities trying to get in. Or field trips was a big one. We do field trips, at least for, our summer camp program, and just tying that all in and really organizing everything into one where it all made sense, where I wasn't, double booking things or overlapping in certain areas. So I would say the organization was a big one for me. And
Yeah.
since then I've gotten a little bit better, but I
Yeah.
can still work on it.
And so in hindsight, what would that job description look like? Let's say you're creating an Indeed post, like we need some college graduate to do this, and this is what you're going to be doing every day, every week. What does that kind of look like?
Yeah, I think starting out with the communication piece, I think communication is huge. Again, going back
Yeah.
to that organization and making sure you can communicate effectively with everybody involved, and then that's including obviously when you get to your registration period, communicating with families, making sure everyone's registered correctly. I think it's also just the oversight of programs and events in general, where you're looking at a bunch of different things, and you can adapt in certain situations, because at one minute you can be talking about golf, the next minute you can be talking about dance, the next you can go to gymnastics, swim lessons, field
Yeah.
trips, the list goes on and on. So really being able to be adaptive, I think, is the biggest one
Yeah.
too.
And so you're kind of in charge of all the programming. How many, let's talk about the different populations. So you've got obviously the little kids or the participants. And so if you said you were running roughly 150 a year program
Per season. So we're
per
probably
season.
looking over, I mean, close to 400 per year.
Wow.
Yeah.
And then what's the range of participants in population? Do you have like 10 people or some of the small ones? And then what's one of the larger ones that you
Yeah,
run?
so we have about, yeah, like you said, about 10 would be average. Sometimes, like for our cooking classes, for example, we have a smaller kitchen, so we usually do like 4 to 6. That's probably the smallest. And then for our biggest ones, like we actually have a school of dance program. We have a dance studio in our building. We're
Mhm.
very fortunate to have that. We have upwards of 150, and that's like a 6 months program.
Yeah.
But then for our summer programs and whatnot, like our main summer programs, like our grades 2 through 4, that's upwards of 180
Wow.
per
How
week for
many,
8 weeks.
so how many participants do you have over a calendar year? It's got to be what, 4 or 5,000 people rolling
Oh,
through your.
easily. Yeah. Yeah. And that's, in our population here in Norwood's about 32,000.
Mhm.
So we're seeing, we have our heavy hitters, of course, as every department does. But it's always special to see some new names and new faces in our programs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then a lot of these participants have parents you got to deal with. Let's talk about the staff that you have to manage, because I know it's kind of a combination of part-timers, volunteers, high schoolers, and then maybe you've got some on-staff people that help with that. What kind of staff are you looking at?
Yeah, most definitely. So, I mean, perfect timing right now as we head into April. We have our summer staff applications are currently out, due actually April 1st. So
Mhm.
we're getting close. But I mean, for right now, and especially now, this is our biggest recruiting time of the year. As summer programmings, we need our counselors, we need lifeguards, we hire pool tag checkers. So when people come into our aquatics facility, they scan in with our checkers or they pay right there. We
Mhm.
have pool maintenance positions as well. So just keeping the cleanliness of our pools, and also adding chemicals when needed, and just making sure that everything's functioning to its full capability.
Yeah.
Um, and then on top of that, of course, we're bringing in volunteers that we all background check. Everyone's background checked, of course. Um, that help in different events that we have throughout the year, and that's usually an ongoing thing where different people will reach out from the community who want to volunteer, or we do get your high school
Yeah.
students that want to volunteer.
Now, I know one struggle that every Parks and Rec department has is finding these high school kids that want to sign up year after year. I mean, it'd be great to have a high school student that's a good lifeguard as a freshman, and you get them to come back their sophomore, senior, or junior year. Any secrets to how you find your part-time staff, and then how you keep them coming back each year?
Yeah, for sure. And one thing that I learned, and we actually just did this the other day, I think, especially for high schoolers, it's good to really get in front of their face and to
Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
not too much in their space, but also, you can send out your flyers and you can put it in the newspapers and you can have the school do something over the intercom. But one thing that we learned, and one thing actually who hired me, the assistant director at the time, we actually go to the high school. We go during lunch periods.
Nice.
We bring our applications. We actually just did this a couple weeks back. And what we do is, you can always just stand there with applications. The kids are going to walk right by you. So what we do is we bring some snacks. We go, get
Oh, there you
some
go.
popular snacks, maybe some chips, maybe something a little healthier. But and we put questions on the front of the boxes, so they actually come over, they're engaged, answer a question, get a snack. Oh, hey, by the way, we're from the rec department. Grab an application.
Yeah.
So we bring them, we spread them all out. That's been pretty effective for us, for the most part. Our counselor binder right now, actually, the applications, it's actually breaking through the folder. We have so many, but it's really the lifeguards that we try to target
Yeah.
right now.
Yeah. Now, I know there's a big push inside the Parks and Rec ecosystem with youth sports to make sure that if the kids aren't having fun, they're not re-signing back up. Maybe they never want to play soccer again because they had this really aggressive coach that was all about winning. It's like, actually, maybe he doesn't need to focus on the championship when he's in third grade. And so how do you make sure your part-timers, your high schoolers are having a good time, even though it's a job and they're, managing the after-school care or the summer camp programs? How do you make sure that they're having a great time and want to come back year after year?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's a good point that you made, because we have seen that over the past couple of years, and we did try something new last year that I think was really effective. And again, it's more of having fun, like making sure that they're having fun so then they can produce fun for the participants that are
Right.
coming in to do it. So I think it's really important to have those outings with staff, going somewhere fun. Maybe, we have an indoor park close by. It's called Level 99. We actually brought all of our summer staff to their last year right before the season began, just to let them connect a little bit, have some fun with each other as they're going to be working with each other throughout. It's a long 8 weeks in the summer. We're primarily outside, so it's a long 8 weeks. So it's just really, really stressing that fun factor. And obviously the days are going to be long. Some days are going to be tough. Everyone's going through something, but it's also continuing to bring that energy and making sure that you're setting a good attitude for the kids and just everyone involved.
Yeah. Okay, so back to your story. So how long were you in that role as kind of over all the programming? And then what was the next step after that for you?
Yeah, absolutely. So I was the program coordinator for about just under a year and a half. So at that point, it was December 2021 when I was hired. That fall of 2022, our director at the time, he moved on to another community. And he's still close by. We're still in touch to this day. And then our assistant director also moved on to another community.
Oh, man.
So yeah, it was both. So at that time, I'm 24 at that time. So we had a long process to hire a new director. And that really kicked off. So we ended up getting a new director in the spring of 2023, where then he came in. We were still doing our thing. The assistant director position then got posted. At the time, I was, kind of going back and forth. Like, I'm like, okay, like I'm still, under 2 years in this profession. And, as a program coordinator, like I felt comfortable. I felt confident. I felt like I did have a pretty good gauge on the community as a whole. So I'm like, what the heck? Like, let me, I'll just put my name in the hat. Worst comes to worst, I'm still going to be here,
Right.
So I put my name in the hat, and a couple interviews later, I ended up getting bumped up to the assistant director, and I was named that in March of 2023.
Wow. That's an amazing run there after only being it. So you've got like 2 years under your belt and you find yourself as an assistant director. So what's the new, again, drinking from a fire hose here, what's all the new roles and responsibilities that you had to, get familiar with and take on as an assistant director?
Yeah, I think honestly, a lot of the things that I carried with me from the program coordinator position followed me in a way, just kind of overseeing like the counselors and whatnot and bringing in. I think it expanded more where then I was able to dive into the lifeguard and the aquatic side of everything, where when I was a program coordinator, I was really strictly only with, the camps and programs and whatnot. But now I'm opening it up to okay, now I'm doing all this stuff, but also, okay, starting to learn the budget a little bit, starting to hop into some capital projects as that was actively happening. Um, and then just over the overall staff of the whole department, being
Mhm.
that, the second go-to of, or sometimes, primarily the go-to of, okay, I have this issue. All right, how do you solve that? How do you solve this? So really navigating the position while still carrying the tools that I just learned from the prior year.
Mm. Any eye openers on the budgeting side? Because I know that's a part of Parks and Rec departments we
Mm.
usually don't touch a lot, the accounting, the bean counter side. But that's pretty much the lifeblood of the entire department. If you don't have funding, you can't really do anything.
That's right. That's right. And I think learning that earlier, in my assistant director role definitely helped me to where I am now. But also, I think just sitting in on the meetings and learning about, how the budget planning is produced. And, you know, again, it is tax-paying money. So just kind of getting that under my belt of like, okay, this isn't just money that falls from the sky. Like these are, the residents of this community, and they
Mhm.
want to see, their tax-paying money go to good use, obviously. So just really understanding that and just seeing the ins and outs of how well, one, quickly it is to spend money if you do it in the incorrect way, but how you can really spread it out if you do it the correct way and still make a huge impact with what you have.
Yeah, yeah. Now, you said you got a little into some construction projects did you have to like tear down an old playground and rebuild a new one and work with the contractors? Did you do any of that stuff?
Yeah, so actually, yeah, I did. So during that process of me being an assistant director, um we had two new projects. We built a brand new playground, which did complete that following spring. Yeah, it would have been 20, or no, I'm sorry, it would have been 2025. So it was the beginning of that. We built a new playground we have a municipal airport here in
Mhm.
Norwood, and we did build a playground named after a young man who unfortunately lost his life too
Mm.
soon. But it was a great addition to our community. So that was more ins and outs of how to deal with contractors and bringing them in and picking their brain and making sure that they're not stretching the budget line too far, and staying
Yeah.
within what we have to offer. And then on the other side, of course, we did have a brand new pool that we were working on as well. So we had in South Norwood here, Haas Pool, and that was built in 1969. It was leaking. We had to do something. It was time. It was time. So we actually revitalized it, where we built a new pool that's in the same footprint as the old one, and that went for about $6.5 million. So that was like one of the biggest projects that I've had thus far, and I love that I had the opportunity to learn and grow from that project, as that was completed as I went into becoming the director from the
Yeah.
assistant director.
Any lessons learned through managing a project? I know if you've never managed a project before, you just don't know what you're up against, but you've got these contractors coming in.
Yeah.
I've never met a contract that doesn't want to go over budget,
Yep,
whether
that's
it's a
right.
top.
That's right. And I think
Um,
I think it is, yeah, learning the trends of how contractors work. I mean, obviously all contractors are different, but as you said,
mhm.
sometimes they stretch that limit, and it's just, keeping them within that limit of what we have to offer. I mean, I was fortunate enough, our assistant town manager was also on the team with me. He was more of like the project manager, if you will. So I was kind of learning side by side with him, but also I was in the meetings, gaining the tools that I need for the future projects. But I think the biggest thing is just trying to keep it within the timeline. I mean, it is construction; nothing's ever perfect in construction.
Right.
So it's also understanding that, not getting too stressed out with, okay, we wanted to open by this date. Now we're opening by this date. Oh wait, no, something else happened. It gets pushed down the line. So not getting too overwhelmed, and also keeping the residents at bay, because they're knocking on the door being like, it's June and we don't have a pool.
Yeah, yeah. Pool is such a big undertaking. But really, sometimes a playground can really eat your lunch if you're not careful. Then things can go
Mhm.
way over.
Absolutely, absolutely. And this was a small one, so it was good for the time being. But there will be bigger.
Yeah.
There will be bigger to come.
So now, how long did you stay as the assistant director
So I
before
was
it?
the assistant director for just under 2 years. So I came in March of 2023, and then I became the director of January 2025. So I actually just completed my first full year as a director.
Oh man. So what's the story behind that? How did you did the director left again or?
Yeah. So the previous director, he was a great guy. He just realized that recreation wasn't for him. He didn't really come from a big recreational background. He was interested in the position. He did good while he was here for sure. But I just think he just came to the realization that, this wasn't really for him. He also came from the private sector, so the private to the public is like night and day.
Yeah.
Everything's different. So so he actually ended up going back to what he was doing before. And then once again, that job popped up, and it opened up. And at that point, I was like, you know what? I was like, I'll put my name in the hat again. I felt comfortable. It wasn't, a forced thing or, something that I felt like I needed to do. I really, sat down, reflected, and was like, if this is something I can do, I would love to do it, learn more. And it's something that I wanted to do in the future anyway, or wanted to be a director at some point. So I'm like, you know what, if I do it now, I'm just going to have that many more tools under my belt for the future when maybe I would become a director,
Yeah.
So I felt comfortable. I am comfortable, and I'm here today.
Man. And so what, you're like 28?
28.
28.
Yep.
My goodness. Already as a director of a nice sized little city. 32,000 is not like a small city.
Right. Yeah.
So what were the new tasks that you kind of had to learn? Because I know that as the director, now you're kind of stand between, the mayor's office, who's your boss that funds you? City manager? Do you have a city manager that pretty much approves?
Town manager. We're technically a town. Yeah.
Town manager. What are some of the new roles and responsibilities as a director that's different from your being an assistant director?
Yeah. So, I mean, just kind of what I was touching on earlier, just the budget process. Now it's like, okay, now I oversee the budget. I was learning it before, but now it's like, okay, now I'm making the decisions of, okay, what do we need here? What do we need there? And obviously nothing is, the prices of everything is not going down. We'll just put it that way. And, it's really mapping out plans and making sure that, you're fully prepared for basically anything that you go into when it comes to budget. That was definitely a big thing, and I'm still learning to this day. But as we come up on the end of our fiscal year here, we restart July 1st. So I've really seen this whole budget year through from my time as a director. But I do feel comfortable in it. I think some other hats, it is really just overseeing our department as a whole, just really taking it all in. Just, okay, anything that happens, is gonna make its way to me at some point, or our staff is great, honestly. So they typically come to me anytime. But then it is also just working with other departments in town. We have the DPW, library, senior center, town manager's office, of course, board of selectmen. It's making sure that we're all on the same page and we're all working together. Because at the end of the day, for us at least, we can't do a lot of the things that we do without these other departments. So it's really been keeping that connection. We're fortunate enough here in Norwood. We do have a pretty tight knit connection with a lot of the departments, and it's really just maintaining that and continuing through that.
Now, how about with your maintenance crews? Do you have you must have a really good superintendent that's managing all that, or is that a different part of the city?
That's a different part. So we are just recreation. So we don't maintain any fields, playgrounds. The residents will address us with these problems, but then we'll shift that to our public works department. Actually maintains the fields, and we have a very close connection with them. They actually maintain the fields, get the fields ready. Anything that's broken at a playground, it'll come through our budget. We'll order it, but they'll actually go and install it.
Oh, so they have all the craftsmen. I imagine they have like plumbers, electricians, kind of all the skilled craftsmen that they need to handle all your problems.
Correct. Yep. And it's a great relationship to have. And it's, it does take a number off our plate in a way, but, all we're in charge of is really scheduling the field. So all of our youth programs, youth lacrosse, youth soccer, football, field hockey, we schedule their times on the fields, but we don't do anything after that. We just schedule them and they can go for it.
Well, man, congratulations on that quick ascent all the way up to director. You got the bull by the horns now.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. It feels great. It does. It does. I'm comfortable, and
Yeah,
every day is different, which I love.
fantastic. Okay, so we have a little tradition at the end of our show. We ask a question, and this question comes from my previous guest, Derek Cowles, out in Vienna, Virginia. And his question for you is, of all the programs you offer, if you could go pro on that one program, like really just go all in, what would it be and why?
Oh, wow. That is a great question. Oh, I would say, oh man. I would honestly say I think our flag football program.
Mm,
I think we could compete. We have some good flag football players here in Norwood.
mm,
I think the way that we've built it over the past few years, it's been coming to a level where, it's getting a little bit bigger, obviously than when we started. And I think we could really take it to new heights, and we could really show out with the program. So I think that would be number one. Off the top of
fantastic.
my head.
I
Yeah.
love that. What question would you like to leave for my next guest?
Oh, oh man, I think I would say if you could build a new facility in your community, what would it be and why?
A new facility in your community, what would it be and why? What, okay, so what would be, I'm curious, what's your answer to that one?
For me, I think if we could staff it properly, I would love an indoor pool.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, we have, I think this is our third. This coming Friday will be our third. This is one of our newest shows. It's called the Aquatics Life. Let me pop up the logo. Or Jovi, why don't you pop up the logo real quick on that one? So now we have a show dedicated to just aquatics, and we have one of the best aquatics professionals, I think, in the country. He's got like 35,000 followers on LinkedIn, all about
Wow.
aquatics. And if you've met aquatics people, they are like crazy on top of crazy when it comes to,
Oh yeah.
what they do. And so I'm really glad that we finally have a show on aquatics, because it's such a like unique part of Parks and Rec, and it's quite an expensive part of Parks and Rec, when you build one of these facilities. And
Yeah.
so now we're producing content every week just on the topic of aquatics inside of Parks and Rec.
Oh, that's
Um,
amazing.
yeah. Well, Sam, thank you so much for giving us your time today and sharing your story and coming on the show. I really appreciate you coming on as a guest.
Yeah, my pleasure. No, thank you for having me so much. It was great.
Yeah. Well, we'll have to check in maybe down the road and see what you've done so far, and well, actually, before we go, tell us a little bit about Massachusetts Park and Rec Association, the annual meeting. I know it's coming up for y'all next week. Anything you can say about that?
Yeah, no, it's a great group of professionals, and the one thing that I love about it is Massachusetts. In the grand scheme of things, looking at all 50 states, we're not a huge state, and it really is nice to be like in a more tight knit community. I mean, that's just what I'm used to. So really coming into this association and really being a part of it, it's a really special thing. I actually used to be the new professional and educational chair for 2 years on the board of MRPA, and I stepped down. This is when I accepted the director role, just to really dive into becoming a director and being a director.
Mm.
Where I didn't want too much on my plate, so I actually stepped down. But it's a great group of professionals throughout the state. It's great to always reconnect with them every year, and then and throughout the year, we lean off each other all the time. I have a good amount of colleagues out there who I reach out to, on a weekly basis. Whenever I'm in a pinch, I can just send an email and I know they'll get back to me. So it's
Yeah.
very comforting, and yeah, I'm really happy to be a part of it.
Yeah, well, good luck for that next week. And yeah, and so if you're just now tuning in and you'd like to hear this whole episode, it'll be on our YouTube channel in probably by the end of the week. I think our turnaround time is like 48 hours. And then it'll exist there Yeah, for all eternity, as long as the internet's up and running. Uh,
Right.
so, and then I encourage everybody, please subscribe to the YouTube channel because it's a new YouTube channel and YouTube doesn't open up all the functionality until you cross like 1,000 subscribers. And we really haven't done a good enough job promoting our YouTube channel. But I think there's over 473 interviews all on Parks and Rec on the YouTube channel. So really appreciate if y'all could just go subscribe to that. That's free to do, and that can really help us get the word out and get this episode out to as many people as possible. But Sam, thank you so much for what you're doing for your community, and congratulations on your career so far. Just keep it going. You're doing a great job.
Thank you so much, Craig. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, Sam. Bye.
All right, we'll be in touch.
All right. So great interview. It's crazy. 28 years old, already a director of a city. Just kind of things fell just right for Sam, but then also he had to be open to just putting his hat in the ring, taking that step and taking the opportunities that came by and just making sure you just do the hard work and doing a good job. And I think that's why his city really saw him as a great potential leader. And now he's leading the Parks and Rec department for a nice city up in Massachusetts. And so for any of those that are looking to be a Parks and Rec director, I think Sam has a great story, and maybe you can call him, get some advice on how he did it, and really just a great job there. Okay, so what do we have coming up? We just got back again from the California Parks and Rec Association over there, Society. And I think we've got like maybe, I think we might have 5 or 6 months before we attend our next one. We're threatening to go to Arizona. We're trying to get that one in. Of course, we're going to be at NRPA, which is in Philadelphia this coming year. We will also be attending Georgia and Louisiana and the usual ones that we go to. We're going to try to make as many of these as we can. I think just how we cover a Parks and Rec annual event for the state is just getting better and better and better. And I think when y'all see the promo that's coming out for the California Parks and Rec Association Society, you're just going to see how much we did there and how great that annual event was. And so hopefully one day we can attend all 50 states eventually and cover the different annual events that the state associations put on. But we've got some good ones under our belt. We've got a few more to come. And so we have an announcement. What we're going to try to do, I think in the next couple of weeks, we're going to launch our own social media platform, all for Parks and Rec. So instead of you having to go on LinkedIn or Facebook or X or wherever you're kind of connecting with Parks and Rec professionals online in a social media capacity, we want to create one that's just for Parks and Rec professionals. And so fortunately, with all this new AI and software and all that kind of stuff, it's a lot simpler to build a social media platform than it used to be. You don't have to have like the billions of dollars that it took to launch Facebook or X or anything like that. So we're going to do our best to launch an MVP, just a minimum viable product to get it out there. And then I'm going to ask some of our closest friends to join and then help us kind of build it through their recommendations on what they'd like to see. So hopefully we'll have something in the next couple of weeks. I think Jovi and Kathleen are going to be helping to build that. I think we're using some site called Bubble or something. There's always some subscription you can get to something that'll help you do it, just like we're using StreamYard to stream all of this to all the social media platforms that we have. But I think that would just be a great next step for the Daily Parks and Rec show, is to have our own media company, our own social media platform that it's all about Parks and Recreation, and it's not in all the massive chaos and advertising and all that stuff that you get with all the other social media platforms. We can have something that's just, we can call our own. And so be looking for that. And if I hit you up to join, I'm mainly asking you to come in and help us to try to build this as far as what you'd like to see. But we want to make it a good user experience. So that's something that we'll be rolling out here soon. All right. So that's all I have for y'all today. Stay tuned. We have coming up next, just in the next few minutes, I think in about 24 minutes, Dave Ramirez has a show guest coming on, and it's going to be our Smart Parks Forward. This is the second and third Monday of every month, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. We're doing something on smart parks and just the different hardwares that are coming and really making it a lot easier to manage all the real estate and the equipment and the lighting and stuff. And so we dedicated a whole show to that. It's going to be airing twice a month, as I said, on second and fourth Mondays of each month, 1:30 p.m. Eastern. So stay tuned for that. And great having you on the show today. And we will see y'all here again tomorrow. Thanks a lot, Jovi. Bye.
Are you a vendor, brand, or service provider ready to connect with the heartbeat of local communities? At DPRS Media Co., we tell the stories shaping parks and recreation across America. Through podcasts, live streams, videos, and newsletters, we reach frontline leaders, city directors, and decision makers every single week. From youth sports and facilities to programming and policy, our audience is your audience. Sponsoring or partnering with DPRS Media Co. puts your brand in front of the professionals who build, budget, and buy for their communities. Launching a new product, growing your presence in public spaces, targeting cities, counties, or departments, DPRS is your trusted media partner. Whether you're in software, turf, aquatics, robotics, smart cities, or special events, partnering with DPRS puts your brand in the story. With commercials, interviews, social campaigns, newsletters, and live shows, we're your media team. Partner with us and grow your impact in the $200 billion parks and rec industry. DPRS Media Co. Stories that move parks and rec forward. Your audience is here. Let's meet them.